And welcome back to FED News, here the October 10th edition. We got a lot to see, so let's get started. So first off, I've revamped the whole page. You've got your champions now. In case you're wondering, you've got Hogan with the WWF World Heavyweight Championship. Shawn Michaels would end up winning another belt in the news, so I just kind of posted both pictures. Your Intercontinental and your European champion, Shawn Michaels, right now. Then you've got the NWA Television Champion, Ted DiBiase, rebranded as the WWF Television Championship. Bob Orton Jr. is still your hardcore champion. The British Bulldog and Owen Hart are still your World Tag Team Champions. The news: Mr. Perfect debuted this week in a singles match in the King of the Ring qualifier. He would end up beating Diesel to advance to the next round. And the Warlord and Rick Martel and Iron Sheik have all signed on with the WWF. They are likely to be making their debut after the King of the Ring pay-per-view coming up here shortly. And in case you're wondering what the match results were, Jake the Snake Roberts would defeat Larry Sabisco in his debut match on Heat. The Great Muta would defeat Bob Orton Jr. in a non-title match. Barry Windham would defeat Sergeant Slaughter in the main event of Heat. And over on Raw, $1 Million Man and Psycho Sid versus Axe and Smash of Demolition would actually come to a draw, a 10-minute time limit draw. Hawk would defeat Bret Hart in the King of the Ring qualifier in an upset. Razor Ramon defeated Animal in the King of the Ring. Mr. Perfect would defeat again Diesel, as stated earlier, and the Ultimate Warrior defeated Randy Savage for the in the main event for the #1 contendership for the World Heavyweight Championship. Next week, Owen Hart versus Paul Orndorff, also going to be for the King of the Ring qualifier. British Bulldog versus Arn Anderson, same. Shawn Michaels versus Tully Blanchard, King of the Ring qualifier as well. And Andre the Giant versus Ricky Steamboat as well. In a rematch, the $1 Million Man and Psycho Sid will take on Demolition to try to see if they can figure out who the winner would be of that match. Also this week, the WWF went to Europe for a European tour, and Andre the Giant won the 20-man battle or 20-man Rumble, and Shawn Michaels actually defeated Ricky Steamboat for the European Championship. The Intercontinental title was also on the line. It was a champion versus champion match. Shawn now a 2-belt champion, and in 2 weeks, Bob Backlund versus Ric Flair will happen in 2 weeks, which is also a King of the Ring qualifying match. Over to WWE now, as we look, and we've got the WWE World Heavyweight, but it's vacant as the belt has not been commissioned. Booker T, of course, your Intercontinental Champion. The Rock, still your WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Ray is your Cruiserweight Champion. Shelton, your 24/7 Champion. Roman Reigns, your United States Champion. And Rated RKO for your Tag Team Championship. Very light news today on WWE side, but Austin Theory debuted this week on Heat. He took on Triple H in I believe, a draw. Yes, it did go to a draw on Velocity. Seth Rollins would defeat Jeff Hardy on Velocity, and Ken Shamrock defeated Drew McIntyre in the main event of the evening of Velocity. Then on to SmackDown, The Fiend defeated AJ Styles to qualify in the Master of the Ring tournament. Kane defeated Shelton Benjamin. This was not a qualifier. This is just a match on the card, as the 24/7 champion is guaranteed a match on SmackDown every week. Jimmy Uso would defeat Booker T to qualify in the Master of the Ring tournament. Eddie Guerrero would defeat Jey Uso, however, in the Master of the Ring tournament. And Cody Rhodes defeated Lex Luger in the main event to also qualify for the Master of the Ring. Next week, we've got Edge versus Sting for Master of the Ring qualifier. John Cena versus Randy Orton, Master of the Ring qualifier. Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns, Master of the Ring qualifier. Shelton Benjamin will be, of course, in action against Chris Benoit, and Batista versus Stone Cold Steve Austin will be the main event next week for the Master of the Ring qualifier. WWE also went to Europe this week, and Ken Shamrock won their 20-man Rumble, which guarantees him a match against Booker T for the Intercontinental Championship at the next pay-per-view, which will be the Master of the Ring. Batista and Eddie Guerrero also defeated Edge and Randy Orton in their main event over there in Europe. Then the WCW champions are, you got Vader as the WCW Heavyweight Wrestling Champion, D'Lo Brown, United States, Tommaso Ciampa is your Cruiserweight, Kevin Owens is still your Television, and the World Tag Team, WCW Tag Team belts held by the Street Profits. In WCW news, Mankind will get his rematch against Vader at Sold Out main event for the WCW World Championship, and after D'Lo got an upset over Vader in the main event of the European Tour match, Karrion Kross attacked D'Lo, stating that D'Lo will be facing him for the United States Championship at Sold Out. And this week's results are Thunder. Cesaro defeated Ali. Sami Zayn would defeat Braun Breaker. Kushida would defeat Santos Escobar in the main event. Over on Nitro, Omos and Gunther versus Bam Bam Bigelow and DDP went to a draw. Big E defeated Sheamus. Kofi Kingston and Tommaso Ciampa defeated Rick Steiner and X-Pac. Bobby Lashley defeated Braun Strowman. And Kevin Owens and Mankind and D'Lo Brown defeated Vader, Karrion Kross, and JBL in the main event. On the European tour, Bobby Lashley would win the 20-man Battle Royal, and D'Lo Brown defeated Vader in the main event. On to AEW now, and you can see we've got a huge list of champions. Of course, still the FTW is still vacant, as well as the International Championship. CM Punk still, of course, your World Champion. Kenny Omega still the TNT Champion. Lance Archer is the TBS Champion. The AWA Tag Team Champions, of course, Lucha Bros. Orange Cassidy representing the Ring of Honor Pure Champion. And then, of course, the Trios Champions of still Adam Cole, Moxley, and Brody Lee. However, AEW has stated that Pac, Chris Jericho, Hook, Kenny Omega, Bryan Danielson have been named in contention for the number one contendership for the AEW World Championship. What will happen is a series of matches will take place before the next pay-per-view to determine who will get to face CM Punk in the main event. And in the match card this week, it was only Dynamite. Hook and Powerhouse Hobbs and Brian Cage defeated the Best Friends. Miro would defeat MJF. Lance Archer versus Darby Allin was a draw. Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks defeated Matt Hardy and SCU. Chris Jericho would defeat Wardlow, Christian Cage, and Bryan Danielson to move up the ranking. And Death Triangle defeated CM Punk and FTR in the main event. Over to NXT now, and you'll notice the NXT United States Championship has actually been sent somewhere else. It is no longer commissioned under NXT rules, or NXT brand, I should say. But we had no news in the NXT, but we did have a match card this week. The Dudleys defeated Killian Dane and Alexander Wolf. TJ Perkins defeated Evan Bourne. Lindsay Dorado and Grand Metalik defeated AOP in a huge upset. Angel Garza would defeat Cedric Alexander and Dean Malenko. Akira Tozawa and Hideo Itami defeated Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly. And 15-man Battle Royal Tournament contender for the NXT World Championship, Austin Aries would go on to win that. And Buddy Murphy in the main event retained his NXT United Kingdom Championship against Pete Dunne, who was forced to give up his NXT United States Championship. On to Impact now. As you can see, the WCW title is no longer there. A new belt will be appearing very shortly, and the Ring of Honor is still to be determined. But in Impact news, Crash Holly will soon debut as he's signed with Impact. The WCW Hardcore Championship has been retired. It is decided that the Lucha Underground Championship will be introduced next week and will likely take the place of what the WCW Hardcore Championship was. Higher point value, though. Chris Bay and Jay White debuted this week. Gangrel was supposed to debut, however, it was delayed due to traveling complications. And Impact has officially announced that they are limiting their roster to 26 and 30 superstars starting next week. John Heidenreich has signed with Impact as well and will be debuting in the coming weeks. And Shingo Takagi has also signed with Impact. Results this week are as follows. Val Venus, this of course was the IWGP United States Championship 8-man tournament that took place. The champion Mark Jindrak was not on the card, but Val Venus defeated Kevin Thorne in the first round. Bill DeMott would defeat Carlito in the first round. Rene Dupree would defeat Tony Nese in the first round. And Lance Storm defeated Mike Awesome in the first round. The semifinal round would be Bill DeMott, who defeated Val Venus, and Rene Dupree, who defeated Lance Storm in the semifinal. The tournament would have a moment break where Jay White defeated Chris Bay in their debuting matches. And the final IWGP US Championship match would be Rene Dupree defeating Bill DeMott in the main event. Now on to the ECW champions. This page, of course, was blank last week. Champions were crowned all week at ECW. The WWE ECW Championship has been introduced and considered a middleweight mid-card championship. And champions were crowned, as you just saw right there. I did not have the results of that, but you do have R-Truth as your USW World Champion. You have Adam Rose as the Intercontinental Champion. Sin Cara would go on to become the United States Champion. And Diego Fernando would become your World Tag Team Champions of the USWA. Or USW, excuse me. The USW News has announced, though, it's only 16-man roster limit each year. As we know, champions were crowned. Then you have the UWF. They only have two championships, the World Tag Team Championship and the UWF World Heavyweight Championship, held by Yokozuna, who won that match in a tournament. Same thing, 16-man roster each year. Rick Martel, who took place in the UWF tournament, however, has been replaced by Red Rooster after he announced he has signed with the WWF, and champions were crowned this week. On TNA this week, TNA, of course, has also announced that they have limited their roster to 20 each year. There are no plans to have weekly results for those guys, as they are more of an independent brand. However, if people want to see that too, I can always do that as well. In the NWA, the World Tag Team Championships have been vacated as Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson have left the company. Tournament will likely take place over the coming weeks to crown new tag team champions. No titles did change hands. No titles were on the line this week. Yes, Ricky Morton has left NWA. The roster has also been limited to 30 wrestlers each year. Al Snow was originally part of the NWA roster, but he was cut from the 30 and also has left NWA as well, we're told. Over in OROH champions, the original Ring of Honor champions, we've got Jay Briscoe defeating Sami Callihan to take the belt from him, but Jeff Cobb has left OROH and Roosh has left OROH, and the roster has been limited to 20 wrestlers each year. The ODW champions, no one has still been determined yet, but these are the belts in case people are wondering. They will be filled in shortly as time goes on. But banner news, though, Chris Masters and Dexter Loomis have left ODW, but Matt Bentley, Chris Harris, and Raven all returned to ODW. From my knowledge, those three are going to the NXW brand for a while. Chris Masters, of course, leaving the UWA, Dexter Loomis leaving the GHC to go off for future endeavors. Here's a small list of free agents still to be signed or possibly be negotiated with. More will be added as time goes on. And lastly, congrats to Jay Briscoe winning the OW World Championship for Sami Callihan. Rene Dupree, of course, winning the IWGP United States Championship in the tournament final. Buddy Murphy retains his NXT United Kingdom Championship. Austin Aries winning the number one contendership for the World Championship of NXT. And then down here in the USWA, you had Sin Cara win the United States title, Adam Rose the Intercontinental, Diego Fernando winning the World Tag Team Championship, and R-Truth winning the World Heavyweight Championship of USW. Earthquake and Typhoon winning the UWF Tag Team Championships. Yokozuna winning the UFW Heavyweight Championship. And again, Shawn Michaels winning the European Championship over in the European Tour. And defending his Intercontinental Championship at the same time from Ricky Steamboat. Ricky Steamboat gave up a valiant effort in the main event. But as right now, Shawn Michaels is a double champion, so stay tuned to what happens to that. As always, we'll see you next week for more fake Fed figure wrestling news.